Well, hey there guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, we're playing with Lego again. Well, recently on the show, I brought you the Lego Ultimate Collector Series Imperial Star Destroyer, and I had an amazing time building that model. But as much as I love the Star Destroyer kit, my true affection for the Ultimate Collector Series kits lies with the Millennium Falcon, kit number 75192. So, throwing caution to the wind, I decided to bite the bullet and pick myself up one of these kits and bring it to you today on the show. I got quite a bit of positive feedback on the Star Destroyer show, and the feedback that came through loud and clear was that you folks wanted to see more of the model and its details. Well, although the Star Destroyer is very well detailed and it looks fantastic, it doesn't compare to the details that are present on the Millennium Falcon. So showing you these details is an easy task for me to do. Before I get into some of these details, however, I wanted to go quickly through some of the specifications of the model and some of the features that, if you were interested in this model as a collector's item, they might interest you. Now, the Ultimate Collector Series Millennium Falcon kit has a total of 7,541 pieces. That's over 2,700 more pieces than the Star Destroyer. And when you see the details on the ship, it's not really hard to understand why. The manual for this build is absolutely massive. And the beginning pages are filled with full color photos and short articles pertaining to the set and the Millennium Falcon itself. It also contains articles about the LEGO Star Wars team, the kit designer, and the graphics designer, as well as the specifications of the Falcon and the history of the LEGO kits that were made to replicate it throughout the years. Now, whether you're a collector or not, these little articles, well, they're fun, and they contain interesting stuff that you may not have known before. But all in all, this manual is 494 pages long, and it contains a total of 1,379 individual steps that you'll have to follow to complete the model, and with some of these steps having to be done multiple times, of course. Well, the instructions are clear and they're easy to understand, and as long as you take your time and pay attention to the steps, you should have absolutely no problems at all. Even if you place a piece in the wrong area, well, you know what? It's Lego, so you can easily relocate it and fix your mistake. Now, the 1,379 steps listed are divided into 17 larger groups, each group numbered from 1 to 17. And the Lego pieces required from that group are all clearly labeled in bags with the group's corresponding number printed on them. I thought that I would go through these groups and show you some of the features that you'll find along the way to give you an idea of the details of this model. So from here on in, I will be referring to the groups as bags, just to try to, eliminate any confusion. Now, completing bag number 1 is a long process, with many pieces that will eventually make up the main frame of the ship. It took what seemed like forever to get that framework finished, but it was honestly thoroughly enjoyable. If you're someone who likes to build Lego sets, this one will definitely not disappoint you. The way that the pieces are combined and connected is nothing short of incredible. I mean, there were even a couple little details that were installed at this point with a little valve and a handle, and then this pipe going in. But after finally getting the framework done, don't expect that you're going to be looking at the Millennium Falcon in all its glory. At this point in time, it looks like a bunch of Lego pieces connected together to form a large divided box. A little earlier, I mentioned that some of the processes in this model have to be done multiple times, and nothing drives this home better than bag 2. In this part of the build, we construct the legs of the Falcon. Now, there are a total of 7 legs, but at this point, we're only going to be constructing 6 of these. So the entire process has to be completed 6 times. And somewhere around the 3rd one, I had it down to a system and didn't even have to look at the instructions because of the repetition of making them. But when the bags are empty and the steps are complete, we're still missing that 1 leg at the nose of the ship. But that, you know what? That'll get built and installed at a later time. Now, with most kits that involve minifigures, they don't introduce them all at once, but instead they gradually introduce them throughout the build. And here in bag 3 is where we start seeing them. And the first ones to emerge are Chewbacca, C-3PO, and 2 Porgs from the movie The Last Jedi. They all look great. And the Chewbacca comes complete with his crossbow that actually fires little red Lego discs, which I thought was kind of cool. But in total, there are 10 minifigures that come with this kit and 1 special character. And I'll get the rest of them as the show goes on. As well as the introduction to the minifigures, we also start getting into some of the details of the model. At this point, you will have to assemble the lounge of the Falcon. Now, there are a ton of extras in this room, including the 3D games, tables, seats for the crew, and even a flight helmet on display. As well as finishing off the lounge area, you'll also construct the small area of the starboard side of the ship that contains one of the Falcon's cannons. This is kind of a fun feature of the model, as there is a hidden panel that you can slide out of the way and have that cannon drop down ready for use. It's a fun part of the build and just another feature to love about this kit. There are a couple of areas that you will construct at this point that don't seem to have any rhyme or reason to them, and in fact they just seem like random pieces that are placed on the top side of the Falcon just for the heck of it. Well, that isn't the case actually, and the seemingly random areas will come into play a little later in the build, but when you first assemble and install them, I have to admit that they were a little odd, and honestly I had no idea what they were for. After spending so much time in bag 2 to fabricate the 6 legs for the ship, you can sit back and work on a familiar process to finish off bag 3 by building the last of the Falcon legs. And this one will mount at the ship's front end to finish off the lower end supports and make the whole model just a little more stable. At this point in time, I've invested a total of 7 hours in the build, and I'm looking at something that looks exactly like this. It still isn't looking much like the Millennium Falcon, but we're only on bag 3 and there's a long way to go from here. The bags labeled with the number 4 brings us another fun introduction to 2 more minifigures. This time, instead of Wookiees and droids, it's the pilot of the Falcon himself, Han Solo, and his love interest, Princess Leia. Now, in the original movie from 1977, Han Solo inadvertently pilots the Millennium Falcon into the mouth of a space slug. And during this scene, the crew has to exit the ship to investigate some minocs that are causing damage to the Falcon. And because the atmosphere is unknown to them, well, they have to wear what I've always assumed was, anyway, oxygen masks. Well, check this out. The designers of the kit have incorporated a double-sided print on the heads of Leia and Han, and you can either have them looking like their normal selves, or you can have them with their oxygen masks from the scene inside the space slug. It's just a fun little addition that I thought I'd share with you folks because, well, I thought it was kind of cool, so if I think it's cool, maybe you will as well. After assembling and checking out the minifigures, the rest of bag 4 consists of assembling more of the ship's inner compartments, as well as some of the lower side panels, to give the lower framework a more finished look. Of the inner compartments, one is just an empty area, while the other is a fun build of the ship's engine room. Of course, it includes the hyperdrive as well. There are plenty of details in this room with valves, passageways, escape hatches, a hidden storage area in the floor, and other various control panels throughout the room. They have even included the small room in which C-3PO caught Han and Leia kissing in the original film. Now, remember that pipe and valve that were installed during the frame build of bag 1? Well, they are incorporated in the design of the engine room, and I love the way that they did this. I had no idea what their purpose was until the engine room was assembled and installed, and suddenly it all becomes clear. It's just awesome how they do this sort of thing. Now, there are some pieces that require the application of stickers, and I gotta tell you, I'm not really a fan of that. There are other parts of the model that have their details painted on, so honestly, there's no reason why all the parts couldn't be painted with their designs, as far as I'm concerned anyway. Either way, there are several stickers that are incorporated into this room, including the passageways. The hyperdrive has stickers on it, as well as the control panels. And you know what? Small stickers are not a friend of my bigger hands. But I just took my time and I managed to get them on fairly straight and even. I'm happy with the way they look. I think they look great. They add a bit of extra depth and detail, especially in those passageways. So on to bag 5, and now bag 5 is where the Falcon really starts to take its shape. Up until now, the ship has been nothing but a large square with legs and a few detailed rooms contained within. But in step 5, we start out by building the underbody panels of the rear of the ship. Now, this panel is designed to give the Falcon its rounded back, but it also gives the rear underbelly kind of a curved contour. It's a nice touch, and it takes away the boxy feel that a build with traditional Lego blocks would normally produce. I love the added attention to detail on this, and it's just fantastic. Now, while bag 5 is pretty much dedicated to the shaping details of the rear of the ship, it doesn't stop at the underbelly panels. Instead, it finishes with one heck of a bang by having us install the ship's main engines. Now, they look fantastic, and I'm very impressed with the Lego designers' interpretation of them and the way that they put them together. With those being installed, this project is really starting to look like the Falcon, and it's, well, you know, it's kind of exciting to see it coming together. I love this kind of stuff. Next, 4 numbered bag sets, number 6, 7, 8, and 9, concentrate on giving the ship the front end shape that is easily recognizable as belonging to the Millennium Falcon. We accomplish this by constructing and adding the front nose pieces to the ship. Now, there are plenty of details added at this point, such as there's pipes, there's vents, there's panels, there's a whole host of various spaceship style pieces that really add that extra something. The details are added to the interior that seem to make no sense, but as we continue through the build of these 4 numbered bag sets, we discover that they are actually the interior details for the upper and lower cowl panels and their openings. All in all, by the time you finish up with bag 9, the front end is pretty much completed and no longer looks like a square segmented box. With bag 10, you end up building the escape pod areas of the Millennium Falcon, and while they are not difficult builds, they are time-consuming ones. There are plenty of small pieces and unconventional connection methods that make this step take a little longer than I thought it would, but you know what? While the functionality of the escape pods is strictly decorative, the starboard side passageway to the escape pod incorporates the very functional gangplank to enter the ship. I did have a bit of an issue installing this section as it just didn't fit properly due to interference with previously installed pieces. And you know, I ended up having to go back through the steps again, and I discovered that somebody had positioned one of the pieces incorrectly, and unfortunately that one piece happened to be the cornerstone for many other pieces, and although the finished section was visually correct, physically it was one Lego section too long and wouldn't line up. It was no big deal. You know what? It was easy to fix. I got to do some troubleshooting in the process, and that just added to the fun for me. As well as completing the hallways to the escape pods, bag 10 also gets us to complete the lower main cannon and body plates that surround it. Now, near the very end of that bag was when I became aware that there were 2 pieces missing to complete this step. Now, they're decorative pieces and they didn't stop the build from continuing, but it's a little disappointing to have 2 pieces missing from a brand new kit. So I've contacted Lego about them, and hopefully by the time this show airs, I'll have some kind of update on the missing pieces and Lego's response and their customer service. For now, though, I'll just chalk it up to maybe blaster damage. And you know what? The cannon looks great either way. You know, I wish it was a little more visible on the completed model, that's all. There are so many great details on the underside of this model that I'm actually considering a display that incorporates a mirror to make the lower details more visible. Now on to bag 11. Bag 11 is the start of the details of the upper sections of the ship, and it starts off by completing the passageways that we started in bag 10. The construction of these pieces put the finishing touch on the escape pod passageways, and the placement of all the small pieces and details can be challenging, but once that bag was complete, I was left with something that looks like this. And to get to this stage of completion in the build, now I've logged in 21 and a half hours, and we still have another 7 bag sets to go. When we get to bag 12, we get another couple minifigures. Guys, I love these little things. And this time, it's Finn and BB-8 from The Force Awakens. Just like the other characters that have double-sided printing on the heads, Finn has both a relaxed side and a business side. And you can choose which one you want to display by simply rotating the head to expose the character's expression. Now, once the minifigures are built, we start making the upper rear panels that will eventually complete the rear of the Falcon. We just get to wet our whistle here, and by the end of bag 12, we have the entire center panel of the rear of the ship completed. This is our first glimpse at the engine vents, and honestly, they look awesome. So if you enjoyed constructing the center section and engine vents, have no fear, because bag 13 is going to provide you with as much enjoyment as you can handle as you construct all of the panels that will finish off the entire back end of the ship. After making and adding the detailed areas such as the engine room and the crew lounge, it seems a shame to just cover them up with the ship's panels. But not to worry, LEGO's thought of this, and they have designed the panels so that they provide access to these areas by simply removing 2 small panel sections located above each of the areas. It's quick and easy because those removable sections are just friction fit and gravity holds them in place. Now, I'm not sure how well that's going to work in a space situation where the gravity is not existent, but you know what? I guess they can't be expected to think of everything. Please don't unsubscribe. So with the back end of the Millennium Falcon now completed, it's time to turn our attention to the front end, and that's exactly what we do in bag 14. We've already completed the nose panels earlier, and in the build at this point, we need to construct the section that will fill the void between the 2 nose pieces that we built earlier. It's another fun section to build, but it really completes the front end of the ship perfectly. It looks great and just gives it that finishing touch. And when we finally get to bag 15, we get to construct the escape pods and connect them to the passageways that we constructed in bags 10 and 11. Now this completes the end of the escape pod hallways, and I love the amount of detail that was put into these. Even the colors on the inside edges of the escape pods add just a little bit of extra detail that makes this model so incredible. To get this model to this stage of completion, I've invested 27 hours now, but don't worry, I think it's looking great. It's time well spent. There's obviously a couple of major sections missing from the model, and we get to construct one of those in bag 16. But before we begin that, we are provided with the last 2 minifigures of the set. Bag 16 brings us the older version of Han Solo as well as Rey from The Force Awakens. I have to say that the older version of Han, for some reason, I don't know why, but he is my favorite minifigure of this set. Just like the other figures, these 2 characters have the same double-sided heads that provide 2 different looks, and I love the facial expressions on the older Han. I think they're hilarious. But once the minifigures are built and out of the way, we get to concentrate on the model again and begin constructing the Falcon's iconic cockpit and the passageways, of course, that lead up to it. The cockpit is simple in the interior design, but it is built to be able to hold 4 of the minifigures. The choice is up to you who you put in there, but at least you know that you have the room for 4 of them. With the cockpit in place, we're left with something that looks like this. And as we can see here in the picture, there is only one area that's left to be built, and that would be the Millennium Falcon's main upper cannons. Bag 17, which sadly is the final step, tackles that main cannon in style, and I love the way it looks. The clear dome that looks down to see which minifigure is manning the cannon is a really nice touch. Now, I would have liked to see the cannon be completely completely posable, but unfortunately this unit only adjusts up and down, but it does not rotate 360 degrees around the turret of the cannon. I'm not sure why it wasn't made to rotate, but they must have had a reason for it. I'm not overly concerned about it. The fact is that the fact that it doesn't rotate really doesn't take anything away from the look of the model for me, and it just would have had, would have been nice to have that extra functionality. As well as constructing the main upper cannon, Bag 17 also finishes off the small upper panels that will fill the last few voids in the ship, as well as the ship's information plaque, which is consistent with the Ultimate Collector Series building sets. Now, throughout the Star Wars movie saga, the Millennium Falcon has undergone some changes, and this set takes that into consideration with the building of 2 different styles of radar dishes, as well as extra optional nose pieces. These details will allow you to choose between the classic Falcon of the original movie with its round radar dish, or the newer style Falcon from The Force Awakens with its rectangular dish and extra nose pieces. Personally, I prefer the older style of the rounded dish, but I have to admit that I added those newer nose sections on the front as well. Some of you Star Wars fanatics will probably hate me for that, but it's my choice. Now, earlier I mentioned the one special mini character that's in this kit, and we get introduced to it here in Bag 17. Remember when I showed you the oxygen masks on the classic Han and Leia minifigures? Well, you'll be able to reenact the entire Space Slug scene, because in Bag 17 we're provided with the pieces to make our very own Mynock, and this thing is awesome with its green eyes and large wings. It's just a fun addition to the kit. I love LEGO's interpretation of it. All in all, guys, it's the best LEGO kit available on the market, as far as I'm concerned. Just my opinion, but it's one of the best. It's the best one out there. Love this kit. And there you have it. The Ultimate Collector Series Millennium Falcon. Oh my gosh, guys, what an absolutely spectacular build this thing was. 34 hours to complete from start to finish, and it was over a 7-day period. This thing's massive. It really is. It's not as big as the Star Destroyer. It's about the same width roughly, and it's just over 31, 32 inches long, I believe, but it's incredible. It really is. The details of the ship and the different things that they've incorporated in here, especially in the interior areas like the lounge and the engine room, it really is just a fun kit to make, a fun kit to have, and what a one heck of a display piece. I'm not going to kid you guys, honest to goodness, these things are crazy, crazy expensive. The Ultimate Collector Series are wickedly detailed. They're just great representations of the things that they're looking to duplicate, but you pay for that duplication and you pay for those 7,000 plus pieces, and the price tag is through the roof. I'll put a link down below for the kit. If you're interested, you can get one for yourself. Now, I have heard rumblings and rumors online about this kit being retired, and oh my gosh, I honestly hope that isn't the case. This kit came out, I believe, in 2017, and here it is, 2021. I just hate to see it disappear and have it so that people that want this kit don't have the opportunity to get it. It'd be a shame for it to be retired, but that's the rumors I'm hearing online, that it will be retired in somewhere around mid-2021. It used to be the largest Lego set that Lego carried. However, it has now taken second place to Lego's new Colosseum build, which I think has almost 10,000 pieces. That's just crazy, 10,000 pieces. How long would that take you to build? Obviously longer than the Falcon. But I've seen that kit and that looks great too. Either way, guys, expensive or not, call me crazy for buying it or not, it doesn't matter. I had a great time making it, I had a great time building it, I had a great time filming it, and I hope you've had a great time checking it out. Guys, honest to goodness, this has been a load of fun. I thought that I had fun with with the Star Destroyer, but it doesn't compare to the fun that I had with the Falcon. Absolutely just a crazy time-consuming build. I loved every bit of it. I loved every aspect of it. Just a great build, and guys, honestly, I hope that you will get the opportunity to try this for yourself. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the bell so that you don't miss the notifications of future episodes of the show. It's been a lot of fun, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I honestly hope you're going to join me again next week when I bring you yet another Alternative Tuesdays.